Okay.
Okay, REAC, legal order.
Okay. Yep. Peg Zugby.
Yeah.
Tim Riley.
Yep.
Raj Kumar.
Yep.
Howard Hill.
Here.
Okay. New business. We have to go, convene the audit and finance committee. And what we'll do is convene that. You'll review the audit. You'll accept and adopt the audit and recommend that the board at large adopts it. So it's a procedural thing that the state requires us. So we need someone to make a motion to convene the audit and finance committee.
I'll second.
I guess we just say all in favor. Okay. At this point, if someone wants, I guess if you want to review the audit for REAC, this is. Just so you know, we had an independent auditor. As you're reviewing it, I'll give a little color commentary to it. They were outstanding. In fact, they were eye-opening. They are so well versed in state regulations and procedures and compliance stuff. Not that our old auditors were bad, but these folks took it to a whole nother level. And they were terrific to work with, almost exhausting at times, right? Because they were so particular and exacting. But it's good from our perspective because now we have the comfort in knowing that our audit is, beyond reproach. I guess is a good way to put it.
Is there anything that they suggested during the audit that would change the way we do our in-house financials?
So their one recommendation was regarding our disaster plan should our computer systems be compromised. And so we did meet with Carl, who's our IT guy, and put a plan in place that we're going to implement for that.
So you're having redundancy, is that what it is?
So we are, at this point, we're backing up only to the cloud.
Yep.
And their suggestion was that we have some on-site backup, so we're going to add an external hard drive to back up QuickBooks and something connected to our modem to back up automatically every night. So that if something went wrong, we would never lose more than 24 hours of data.
Okay. I guess unless there's other comment, we need someone to recommend that the audit be, accepted and adopted.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and we can adjourn the.
During that meeting and go back to work.
Okay, now we're back in the REAC meeting. The committee has recommended the adoption of the audit, and I need a motion from someone, to adopt the 2022 audit.
I'll move that.
Okay, a second.
Second.
Rod.
Go ahead, go for it.
All in favor?
Everybody gets a turn, okay? And then, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, we don't have any new business, we don't have any old business, and we have our February 2023 financial report. I can say with, almost predictably with REAC, it's basically a bill or two with the bill paying the bookkeeper to check our books.
We need a motion to approve the financial report.
Yep.
Raj, you can make that motion. Thank you. You can second it. All in favor?
Aye.
All in favor? Everyone gets a turn. Okay. And that's it. Do you want me to read the minutes?
Okay.
Okay.
Move this along today.
We're zipping along here. All right, so the meeting is called to order at 9:01. The Audit and Finance Committee convened. They reviewed the independent audit draft report and following discussion regarding disaster recovery recommendations by the auditor and our action to implement that. A resolution by the Audit and Finance Committee to adopt the 2022 audit report was done. Motion by Tim Riley, seconded by Raj Kumar. All in favor. That meeting adjourned, and the meeting of the board at large reconvened. Action items, a motion by Peg Zugby, seconded by Raj Amar to adopt the 2022 audit report. There's no new business, no old business. Members reviewed the treasurer's report. Motion by Raj Amar, seconded by Peg Zugby to accept the financial report. All in favor?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay. Okay. I've got things to sign, but we'll do that, Tim, you and Raj afterward. Okay.
IDA, we call the meeting to order.
IDA, okay.
Roll call.
Peg Zugby.
Here.
Tim Riley.
Yep.
Raj Amar.
Here.
Howard Hellman.
Here.
Okay, the first thing we've got is
Heidi.
IDA Administrator Heidi Van Diver to kind of continue the discussion started at our last meeting regarding small business services.
So let me just kind of segue into that.
Sure.
So for those of you that were paying attention to the last meeting, we discussed the fact that our IDA has several $1 million sitting in the bank. That money is by all rights the taxpayers' money. And do we just keep squirreling that away and building an account? Or do we look at some ideas on how we can reinvest it back into the community to help the community at large, obviously through some business vehicle? So Heidi did some great homework on one idea, and this could be one of many, or this could be the one that we select. So thank you for doing that. You have the floor.
Excellent, thank you. And as you said, this is something I know the board has kind of been batting around for a while. And so I think this meeting is more for how do we move forward with this? What does that look like? So just for those of you that don't know, this is something I do have experience with. Before I was with the IDA, I was with NAMI Rockland as the Community Relations Manager. And my main role there was developing programs to suit the needs of the community, really focused around mandates that came down from Albany and helping schools and agencies implement programs to fulfill those mandates, from writing the grants to implementing the programs. It's actually where I worked with Sheila before I worked with Steve that we figured out later. And we've started a little bit of this process, just sort of establishing that need. Are we on the right track here that Rockland does in fact need support for small businesses? So I've been attending meetings with Rockland Works and the Rockland Women's Business Network and the county's economic development group. And it seems overwhelmingly that yes, Rockland does have a need for small business support. We seem to have a lot of programs supporting the workforce, but not so much small business. And Rockland Works was particularly excited to hear that the IDA is thinking of maybe developing this type of program, because they would really like to see some programming happening as sort of a liaison for, as they're getting the workforce ready, helping small businesses feel comfortable employing that workforce. There's some challenges there that they would like to address. So we've, kind of been attending these meetings and having discussions around that. From an IDA perspective, I think it's also really good that we've been attending these meetings, because now that I've been through a round of compliance, some of our projects actually are coming to this meeting. The last roundtable I was at was around workforce and challenges in finding qualified workers, and 2 of our IDA projects were there discussing their challenges, which I think it's a good idea for us to be at the table for those discussions, now that I see what we report on and kind of understanding what their challenges are. So I thought this would be a good opportunity to sort of get your ideas on what you think about the program, answer any questions you have, and see if maybe we could get the board's approval to continue this research and develop a program with the hopes of having something up and running in the fall, because I find having a deadline is very helpful when you're developing a program, because in the beginning it can really feel like you're trying to boil the ocean. There's a lot of ideas, and so having that kind of deadline helps you narrow in on actually moving forward. And
if I can just tack on one thing, what we're looking for the board today is that commitment to move it forward. No one's deciding on a specific program, even though Heidi's done homework on specific types of programs. we're looking for the board to say, yes, this is what we want. Let's start developing it. And as these programs start to gel and we say, okay, now here's a budget commitment, we'll come before the board and say, okay, is this a program we want to adopt, and then implement it. So this is really the first step of saying, you're endorsing us investing the time and energy, and quite frankly, money in cases of going to seminars or going educational things like that, to go ahead and move forward on this.
So any thoughts or questions from the board? I'd be happy to kind of.
It's ready, go.
It's a great idea. If nothing else, we need to explore. We all know what's going on. We all know that, not that we're here to spend the money, but we have some assets, we can do some good with them. And until somebody takes the time and energy and reports back to the board on what's the best way to implement those programs, what do you need from us?
Just your commitment, because it's going to take a time investment from Heidi to do this.
So when you say time and investment from Heidi, so it's gonna be our commitment that Heidi comes on board full time, is that what you're explaining?
You're kind of getting ahead of what I was going to suggest in executive session, but yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, okay.
But yes, I think, okay, since that's up there, and this is public, we can be specific about it, but it's going to take, I guess this is all tied into that. Since Heidi's come on board, we have the budget or money sitting in the bank that we're looking to say, how can we reinvest in the community? And we have the resource of Heidi that, apart from why we hired her as far as compliance, and that's a lot, to take it to this next level, and among other things, it's probably going to have to expand that job position. But that's something we can talk, specifics in executive sessions, such as personnel. But yes, that would be part and parcel that Heidi is going to run with this, because it's not, and then I will also add, apart from the small business discussion, I'm seeing that there is a growing need for our presence that we simply didn't have when I was kind of just out there by myself. It was prioritizing time. I'm seeing that we need to be in areas and be plugged in. Some of these organizations that Heidi's attending, bless you, meetings, it's important that we're there. And the fact that without Rockland Economic Development, and I don't want to go off on tangents too much, no longer exists, and the budget for the in-house economic development part in the county has limited funds, there's a kind of big hole of economic development perspective out there that we should fill.
Any thoughts?
I agree.
I do agree, but I will say, especially Heidi, if you're going to be doing that no matter where we look, we should really look where it's more for non-for-profit or more for, where you can see what's going on, rather than give it to a small business where you become like PPP fraud and there's nothing you can really do about it.
Right.
So, this is money that the idea has saved over the years, and we just don't want to blow it away. So
Yeah.
the cautiousness has to be our first priority of who we bring into the table.
Right, and I think that's, as we're kind of dipping our toes into this, that's why we were really focusing more on education, so that we're working with these small businesses with like a tangible goal and a program that they go through of education, and they walk away with a skill that they didn't have before, and it's sort of more controlled than just handing over money. It's
As this evolves, I don't ever see us handing over money.
Well,
Only because we don't have enough, we don't have millions in the bank.
I-
So we hand off to one, but I think Heidi has an idea as to how she can develop programs and so forth through the money, through the assets of the IDA, where they can use this as a tool, as far as that goes.
Right,
And
but
we
that was
talked
more,
about
the
that.
idea is
Nice.
to more focus on education, so working with small businesses
Well,
as opposed to funding them directly.
I'll say this to you, I come from an industry where the most PPP fraud happened, right? And ridiculous amount of PPP fraud. Now the government's going after it, money spent, you can put it in jail, but it's not, right? So we just want to make sure that this is the government money, it's the county money. We got to make sure that it's the taxpayers' money, got to
Yeah.
make sure that it's protected.
And also,
I don't want to get ahead of us too much, but I would do not want to see us do like a loan program. You know.
And we're gonna approve
it's-
everything anyway.
And to
so-
be honest with you, it sounds
Yeah.
like we have plenty of money in the bank. You try to do a loan program to make an impact, it'd be gone, like, it wouldn't even make an
Well, you
impact.
can't control the loan, right? You don't know when they're using the funds.
We don't have an administrator, yeah, so,
Okay.
but anyway.
Right, and I come from the nonprofit world, so being very frugal is just in my, it's been ingrained in me.
It's funny, yeah. Heidi has always remarked when I said, oh, you
Unfortunately, I
need
come from the nonprofit.
I'm probably, I'm just waiting for somebody to say.
You're right.
So I guess if the board, I don't know if we need,
Well,
actually need
let's-
a,
I don't think we need a formal motion, but I think this is an idea that its time has come. I really, really do. And I think, Heidi, we're putting a lot of weight on your shoulders in that there are an infinite number of things that we can do. So we're looking to you that-
I think we're looking for a
to
recommendation.
come
Right.
back with 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 different
Right.
ideas that we could sink our teeth into, and then the board can decide which one or
Yeah.
2 or 3 of those we want.
That's what I'm envisioning, to kind of do the research, narrow it down, and then open up the discussion again and make that decision together.
Now,
And-
I'd like to add something. What are we doing with the money sitting in the bank where the FDIC just ensures?
That's why this guy's here. Now you're getting it.
that was a perfect
I was
segue.
gonna, yeah.
But I think with Heidi, like they
We're
said.
way
you
ahead of
just-
us. Now we gotta cut back on the cap fee.
Well, no, I think we just want to get out this time.
Making up for lost time.
But, you know, Heidi also, and by the way, and this is not the time to get into it, she's already been looking at programs that I'm familiar with, that she's looked at, that I think personally are good ideas that we can say to you very quickly, like this, maybe even as soon as next month, say, here's a program, here's the
Okay.
cost, boom, you know, we're gonna be specific. So,
Yes.
So do we need approval of this, or we're just,
Because we're not proving anything yet.
well, we're gonna increase Heidi's hours.
Well,
well,
that
that's
would
going
be-
to be a
that's-
personnel
right.
matter in executive session.
So, okay, great.
You're getting ahead of yourself.
I'm sorry.
You know, I got an agenda here.
All right, so can we
All
have a
right.
motion to adjourn?
All right, so we're good with that, all right.
Excellent, good, thank
Good,
you for your
Thank
time.
you.
Yep,
Yeah.
and for your peace of mind, I think we accomplished what we wanted to
I
accomplish.
think so, yeah, and I'm excited. It's really fun to create these programs, and it's rewarding at the end to see who you've helped, yeah.
Okay, moving right along, and with Raj's segue, we have Greg Sousa from Orange Bank here, who is going to address,
Let's switch.
respond. We asked him to come out, just give us a heads up of what the banking world's position is on some of the things that have happened out there.
Greg doesn't want to talk to me. They sent me an email. I didn't get a chance to respond.
Oh, that's okay, right? If I got mad at everyone didn't respond to emails, I wouldn't have any friends. So, it's funny you said about PPP. The one thing I remember about PPP was when I got off the phone call with the government, they said, remember, you are all stewards of the taxpayers' money, and make sure you protect it. So, and the first call we got that day, I think it was $550 billion, and they said, we know 10% is going to be fraudulent. We know it. But we gotta get the money out to the people that need it. And that was, from the original calls. And I say that PPP was like a married couple buying a dog, right? And getting used to look after something. And now the crisis is they just had their first baby. And now they really know what it's like to be in it. So I'll go back, just kind of let you know what's been going on in our world a little bit, and then any questions you guys have, stuff like that. So obviously that weekend, a couple weeks ago, when Silicon Valley kind of went down, and then Signature Bank started, that Saturday, Sunday, were just like an influx of phone calls of people. How can we get money out of Signature? We share a lot of clients with Signature Bank personally at Orange. So we were working, and then around 6:36, I think I remember watching TV, and Signature Bank collapse came out, but the FDIC said they're going to backstop deposits with them. So then all of a sudden there was a quietness, or a calmness at least, that happened, right? People weren't so crazy. So obviously we as senior management, starting having our meetings, setting up, what do we need to do as an organization? What are they going to be looking at? What's happening? Hey, Brian. How are you?
Great.
Yeah, it's a lot of friends in here. So we systematically broke down deposits, what we're looking at. One of the biggest hot topics for the FDIC right now, which, by the way, in the banking world, we're lucky enough, we only have to report once a day to the Fed. Other banks have to report 2 or 3 times a day to the Fed. Their biggest hot topic right now is uninsured deposits. because they feel like on balance sheet risk management, what's not insured has the potential to shift at some point, right? If there's a flight to safety, let's call it, where the four banks that have seen the biggest influx of deposits, obviously Chase, Bank of America, Wells, and Citi. Those have seen the biggest flight. Luckily enough for us, our president of the bank is also the president of chairman of NYBA, which is the New York State Bankers Association. So he's been very intimate with everything going on. The ex-chair, I believe, is a very high up person at Chase. She had a phone call saying, hey, listen, we're trying to make the process so difficult for people to move deposits over right now. A, we don't want them. And B, we want to keep the other banks liquid. So they've actually they put their process in the hands of like one division. So going there and even trying to open up new accounts has become cumbersome for them. As far as Orange Bank's balance sheet, when we looked at that Monday, the crisis of that Monday, fast forward to last Friday, so that kind of 2-week period, we were $15 million off in balances on a $1.8 billion balance sheet. And that we know actually, obviously lots of ins and outs. There's been small flights of, I check every single check 250,000 over every single day. Any wire over $2 million has to come to my desk before it goes out. Not that I'm special, but I just look at it to ensure, okay, I question it. Is it a flight? Is it rate? Is it this or that? And then have conversations with the branches. So we had one 1031 exchange account where the client had $15 million in it. It was a Mamaroneck client. The 1031 exchange company stayed with us. They have multiple deposit accounts, but that one client wanted a flight to, call it safety, to a too big to fail type organization. So that went over to Chase. So when we look at the balance sheet over the 2-week period between some outflows of clients, many inflows of new clients, because we share a lot of clients with Signature Bank, so there was a lot of new accounts being opened, stuff like that. We're about $15 million off on a $1.8 billion balance sheet, which is not too bad at all. Just before I came up here, we're actually looking at all checks right now back and forth from Signature Bank, believe it or not, during the period when they weren't still under the FDIC, there was still movement there, but they have to do normal business activity. That's just the way it was. So that's pretty much what's been going on in our world. I can throw out capital ratios, this and that. 10% is requirement. We're always 20% over that in our own policy, which is 12%. We're at 13.5 right now, so well capitalized. We have the ability to go to the window to grab about $450 million right now, if need be, as an organization, which represents almost 25% of the deposit base. Of the deposit base, and we're publicly traded, so I don't know what I can and cannot say in here, but we do have uninsured deposits. It's about average to what the industry is, in the 30 to 40% range. And we can pretty much almost go grab dollar for dollar at the Fed window if every single uninsured deposit left us tomorrow. We don't want that to happen, but it could happen. But we think the storm kind of happened. We think it's calmed a little bit just based off of conversations that are happening on a daily basis. Some customers used it as an excuse. We're very relationship driven. Some of them, I think, use it as an excuse to go to treasuries just to earn a little bit more on their money, stuff like that. But we've tickle filed every single one of those accounts that left, 4 months, 5 months. And the great part is most of them did them through what's our Hudson Valley Investment Advisors or our trust department. So it's kind of in-house, but it's not in-house because it's not cash we can go out and grab. I could talk to you guys about the mark-to-market on the bond portfolios if you guys want, which is one of the things that got Silicon Valley in trouble. 3 things pretty much got them in trouble from my world. 1, the mark-to-market on the securities portfolio. So banks had excess liquidity. Let's just pretty much rewind to last March. As bankers, we were probably all in boardrooms like this, sitting with our feet up saying, I can't believe the amount of deposits we have right now. I can't. We had so much of deposits, it was unbelievable. We couldn't do anything with it. So treasuries went up, we went out, or we bought bonds, stuff like that. Obviously, as interest rates rise, those bonds become less valuable because there's no market to sell them. So I'm just using this as an example. Buy $100 million in bonds last March, 1%. which was pretty good because we were getting 10 basis points at the Fed overnight, whatever it was. Fast forward a year, those bonds are now 4%. So the value, if we wanted to sell them, has shrunk. So Silicon Valley ran into that. They had to sell. They lost $2.9 billion in liquidity crunch because they went to market and sold the bonds they had to. They then went out and said, we're in trouble. We're trying to raise capital. And they did that over Twitter. Then the Twitter effect of all those big firms pulling out their funds dominoed to where they were toast. I mean, it's unfortunate. So what the government did is they came in and backstopped that mark-to-market loss on that portfolio. So just as an example, if you had a $100 million bond portfolio and now you had to trade it in, you make 60 million, you lose 40. The government said, we are now going to extend you a line of credit based off of the bond portfolio at par. So Mr. and Mrs. Banker, you don't need to sell that portfolio for liquidity purposes. We're going to give you a line of credit so you can hold to maturity and you don't lose a nickel. So that's another thing that happened because of the crisis, which benefited us as an institution and everyone else. I was kind of, from my own perspective in banking, and not political view, when they backstopped all the FDIC, on all the deposits, I was like, okay, this is the start of government banking. Because what's the use of having a policy if you're not going to adhere to the policy? So bondholders, shareholders, toast, right? Zero. Deposit holders held whole, which is great for them. But from what I've heard from Yellen and being on other things, it doesn't seem like a uptick in FDIC insurance right now is something that they want to do or go after. And at the end of the day, we hold the bag and we pay for the FDIC insurance anyway on the deposit. So it would be an increased cost to us. We don't mind having that increased cost if we have to, but we don't believe that's something that's going to happen. Then as a defensive, offensive product set, we have what's called ICS. The name is just changed. It's called like intra. It's called Insured Cash Sweep. What it allows us to do is it's a 3,000 bank network that allows you to ship money off the balance sheet each night into FDIC insured banks. They do it a little bit less than 250,000 because if it's interest bearing, they don't want the interest to push them over. When I spoke to the rep probably that Tuesday, we have the ability on a relationship interest bearing level to go up to $100 million in that program for one single tax ID. We can go up to $150 million in non-interest bearing on one set tax ID, and we can go up to 150 and 125 combined if you had money market and DDA for any single person. If Orange Bank was to fail and you had money in that system, it's about 3 days to get your money back from those FDIC insured other banks. So that's the process with them. So we do offer that product. A lot of people have switched into it. Only one checking account, believe it or not, and I happen to be in this building, it's not you guys. They were holding very large, substantial balances in it, and I spoke to them and I said, I don't know about you guys, but $6-7 million sitting, first off, why is it even sitting in a checking account? But besides that, we can just put it into there for you. So we put that into that as we work out the kinks for the checking. And then we have CDARS, which I think you guys have some with us. CDARS is another ICS program, but it's for CDs. So it goes out $250,000 increments, ships them off balance sheet. It's a reciprocal relationship, so we actually get balances in return of other people and other banks. And it's been very successful for us. It costs us about 15 basis points on the balances to get the insurance.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Thank you for that. Could you just start over?
It's my first presentation since this happened, so I'm giving you all my information.
Yeah.
So
It's happening.
So here's my question.
Yeah.
So we have about $3.5 million in your bank.
Right.
Okay. We are in the sense the fiduciaries for the public.
Sure.
So one thing from my chair here that I was going to share with the board, which I'll do now, is it in our best interest and the community's best interest, the taxpayers' best interest, that we just kind of say, oh, we had somebody here from Orange Bank and Trust, and they said everything is hunky-dory.
Mm-hmm.
So from where I sit today, I say, what's the risk reward? We should really be taking that money and divvying it up so that we are protected by the different banks. Now, I kind of heard before I went into La La Land after halfway through your presentation, because I didn't understand. What can we do to stay with your bank where we can sleep at night knowing that none of our money is at risk?
Sure.
And I know you mentioned HVI, Hudson Valley Investors, CPs and stuff, so just kind of
I
answer.
just want to ask a question. We can't put money in T-bills?
No,
No.
it's under the state's guidelines of investing, because we explored that and we reconfirmed it with our auditor. And they said, no, the state, because it's not our money, it's private investor, you can do what you want, but because it's state, it's taxpayer money, it doesn't meet the criteria. It's not as easily accessible. There's just a variety of different things, the administrative costs associated with it, the reporting to the state, it just would make it, any benefit would get eaten up.
We'd have to go third party, have to pay them a fee, and by the time it got all bogged down. I just have one question, real simple for me.
Sure.
The money we have with you, how much of it is insured in total from the FDIC?
I have to check on that for you. I know you guys have laddered CDARs before with CDs, so
Yeah.
everything that's in the CDs is fully insured,
Okay.
right?
So any CD is fully insured.
That's in the CDARs
that's-
program is fully insured. So
What does CR stand for?
CDARs is, I don't know the acronym what it stands for, it's something with CDs. It's the ICS
I'm glad
program.
you don't know.
Right. It's the ICS. I don't really deal on the branch side of it, unfortunately. More on the lending side, the executive
So
side.
so long and short,
Mhm.
if we were to have the $3.5 million in CDs,
In
then
CDARS CDs, which is the ICS, Insured Cash Sweep, is the demand deposit money market account, fully insured. CDARS is the ICS
Banking, it's called.
ICS of CDs per se. So those are the two mechanisms that we have internally to take 3.5 million up to 100 million and get full FDIC insurance on those. When I came here originally, when I met with Steve back in the day with Bartolotta, back in Blue Hill, one of the issues where you guys were at TD, and TD couldn't guarantee you that the money wasn't going to go into certain investments that weren't FDIC insured. So
Exactly.
that was kind of how we got into working with you guys. And from the beginning, there was always, let's look at what our budget is for the year. That's what we kind of will hold into the DDA component. And then from there, we will put into CDARS. So you guys have been a CDARS client way before any of the banking crisis stuff happened.
Yeah.
You guys are into the FDIC insured product. And we laddered it. So we would do we had funds where it would be 1, 2, 3 years. This is the budget for 19. We know it's going to be similar for 20 and 21. So budget for 20 would come due in a year. Budget for 21 would come due in 2 years. And we laddered it that way in all FDIC insured products. So you guys have been fully insured throughout the whole entire time.
And I'll even add to that, that's if you took our money and said, we just didn't do any more deals and it was just static, that was our money.
Correct.
But as we close deals and we get our fees in, and like last year was a good year as far as fees, we'll roll that in. But the goal is, just it was Greg saying, is to keep manage this so we have about a year's worth of operating expenses plus for some flexibility.
So just to let you know what CDAR stands for, is CDAR allows a business to invest in certificate of deposits held by many different FDIC insured banking institutions. So it can achieve full
Forward that
FDIC.
to Greg so he knows what that means.
So basically, your bank invests with other banks to make sure it's FDIC approved.
Yes. And we get reciprocal back.
Yeah.
Yes.
Correct.
It's a two-way street.
You had me with the loan. Our main concern was that after what we saw, we felt it was our responsibility just to see where our money was. As far as rates and everything, that's a discussion for another day. We can beat you up at a later date, but
Right now, don't beat them up. Just keep the money secured.
but we wanted to make sure the money was secure.
Just a question, and you may not need to answer it. If a bank gets audited, right, through the government, what good is it, or a private third party? What good is to have an audit, because nobody told the government that this is gonna happen? When an auditor's job is to tell you that you're going to have, everybody knew that the rate has increased, right? So you bought bonds at 1%, went to 4%. that's an auditor's job to tell you that there's gonna be a problem because you're gonna, you'll have to short sell. It's not something new.
No,
So how come the government didn't go after and say, you audit? Because Silicon Valley had just had the audit,
Mhm.
and apparently nobody brought it up.
they did. So we're audited by an outside firm and then by the regulators as well. So we have our own internal audit. We use a third party called Darling, which does our financial, like our planning with us. We meet with them quarterly to discuss what we're gonna do. So Roger, I can only speak to the articles that I've written, is how did they miss this and gave them a clean bill of health?
Yeah.
And then they failed a couple months later. And in all fairness, this all happened because of the interest rate.
Right.
Can I, like I said, unless there's something really, I know I've got a full agenda here, I don't want to lose my board, so, great, thank you.
All right, guys?
Oh,
My
thank you,
car's
yeah.
there. Any questions on anything?
Be careful
related?
with traffic back to your office.
I'll be
I
on.
need one.
Thank you.
Thank you, mate.
Good to see you guys.
Yes.
Oh, sure. Okay,
Okay,
that's very helpful.
Good.
Table
all right, very quickly, we have to convene, all right, we need to convene the audit committee, same as we did with the last meeting. Somebody want to make a motion to convene the audit and finance committee?
Okay.
Peg is making a motion, second.
Tim.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Same thing, the audit, you heard me with REAC, it's almost a mirror image, just bigger numbers because IDA has more money in the bank. Their recommendation was essentially the same thing. We can beef up our disaster recovery, and we've taken steps, to have that not only backed up in the cloud, but a hard drive, and we'll be working with Carl. We already are, we've already had conversations to make sure that we have, we're secure. So apart from that, there was really nothing extraordinary in our audit report, other than how detailed, and it's worth saying again, how outstanding this audit firm is. Okay. I
We
need a
took care of
motion
the
for some.
filing, it said something about filing by the deadline. and all
Well, yes, it's, once the audit's complete, now presuming you adopt it today, then that gets attached to our annual state compliance report, which is also our other consultant that Heidi's been working with, which is it's called the Paris report. It's an overview of all of our projects, what they've done. It's a way of keeping the IDA's feet to the fire by oversight by the authority's budget office and the controller's office. Part of that is the audit is attached to it. So once now you've approved it, presuming you approve the audit, that gets attached, the draft comes off, it's the final audit, that goes on to the Paris report, and we file it to the state. And I'm proud to say, barring a crash in the internet or something, we're gonna file this on time.
Early.
Yeah, early.
If we're not early, we're
Right.
late.
Now, ironic,
Careful.
there's no negative, I've never seen a penalty if you're a day late or a month late, but it's nice to get it in early.
Okay.
Okay, so the audit committee needs to make a recommendation to accept the audit report.
I'll make it.
Okay, Raj, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
We need to
Adjourn.
adjourn the audit committee and go back to,
now, audit. Okay, kind of the same thing, as we need a resolution from somebody or motion to accept the audit report as recommended by the audit and finance committee.
I'll second it.
Okay,
there you go.
okay,
All in favor?
Aye.
okay.
Carried unanimously.
Okay, moving right along. If I seem like I'm moving quick, I apologize, because I know people have places to go, so I'm trying to move us along.
And
So,
he answered all the questions. so-
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Next, authorization resolution with the Aptar Group. These are the folks that were up in Congress. Were you here last meeting?
Yeah, I don't remember.
I don't remember.
I don't remember yesterday.
This is the pharmaceutical outfit that's doing the big expansion in Congress on Hemlock Drive. We induced them, they're looking for sales tax only. We had a public hearing, there was no public comment. So this is the authorization to be able to close, so we can close on that.
Sales tax only.
I'll move.
Okay, Raj moves, second.
I'll second.
Tim seconds. Roll call.
Peg Zugaby,
Yes.
Tim Riley.
Yes.
Raj Amar.
Yes.
Howard Helmut.
Yes.
Okay. NYSEDC sponsorship. That, this is just something I'm feeling, we've been attending these meetings, be it in Albany, fall events, we're planning on going more. They asked us to be a speaker at the last meeting. We have the upcoming event coming up, their annual meeting in May. I'm seeing all the IDAs are taking ads. I'd like the board, and I talked to Howard about it. He said, let's just discuss it with the board. Are you okay if we take out a sponsorship? We don't have to be a gold sponsor for $4,000 or $5,000. We can, that's, but we can be a sponsor in some
Make a
regard.
business card size.
Now, you can be a sponsor of a breakfast. You can be a sponsor of the cocktail party.
$50.
You can be a golf. You could be a golf spot. I mean, there's some choices here.
Well, yeah, what's something reasonable?
I mean, listen, we could take
What's breakfast?
breakfast is 3,500.
Yeah. How much is a page?
Let's see, Wednesday afternoon, let's see, breakfast, paid branded charging state networking activities, I'm trying to see. Ranges from inside front cover 2,500 to a quarter page is 500. I mean,
Okay,
we
my
could do
honest
a full
opinion,
page for 1,200.
I would do a full page. A
Okay.
quarter page looks kind of chintzy, get a page.
How
You
much
don't
is
have
a
to
page?
think in front.
1,250. And that's in the journal, and that, believe me, that is actually one of these journals that are actually, is a takeaway, because there's a lot of good
Okay, so
information.
Tim makes a motion to sponsorship level of $1,250. Second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Roger Moore, sponsor 1,250, okay.
that's $1,250 less than you're gonna have to.
So I was just gonna say.
Right.
Okay.
Now, no one gets a highlighter in the classes.
Okay, next, I want to go into executive session for two reasons. One, I want to talk legal matters, and then I want to talk personnel. So if we can do that, and for the purposes of the legal matters, I think I want everybody to stay here. We're just turning off procedural. We'll turn off the feed, the YouTube feed, and then I want to talk about a couple of things. And then when we go to personnel, I'm going to ask everybody but the board to leave.
Okay, can I have a motion to go into executive session?
Personnel, you mean appointment matter, right?
Yes, sorry, yes, I'm sorry.
Second?
Thank you.
Raj from Cafe.
Who made the motion?
Great.
And we go.
Okay. precedent?
Okay, we're live.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
You want? All right,
I don't know.
God, we're all stuck around. I guess we're fascinated by what we did.
Go ahead.
Okay,
Okay,
I need,
That's your job.
back in public session,
Yeah, there is no bagels. What happened here?
back in public session, we need a motion to create a full-time position based on what it was discussed in executive session. I don't know how to characterize that. We're not gonna discuss in public session the particulars of salary or benefits.
No.
But just create a full-time position of manager of operations title.
That's the motion.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Motion by Tim, seconded by Peggy. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, okay, halfway done through the agenda.
Come on, Tim, let's get it go.
Treasurer's report, February 2023 financial report, nothing extraordinary, it's our usual monthly costs.
But what I will say is, if I'm not mistaken, we have a pool of money that we haven't reinvested. After hearing what we heard from Orange County, after hearing what we heard from our auditors, meaning we're extremely limited, what I'd like the board to entertain is the fact that we go back and negotiate, figure out where we are, negotiate with Orange County, put the money in CDs again, and away we go.
So those are
Okay.
CRs.
CR, yeah, of course.
CRs.
Okay.
Okay. And then as far as the financial report, if there's any comment or you guys good with it?
Motion to accept the financial report is presented by Tim. Raj makes the motion, seconded by Peggy. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I can read the minutes back if you like. Okay, 4 members present, IDA was convened at 9:15. Presentation introduced by Howard Hellman to look about reinvesting our funds into various programs. Presentation by Heidi to talk about small business and the process of going forward. Following conversation, all agreed that the time has come to expand our operations and we will continue the process of being very jolly, more specific. Greg Sousa, representing Orange Bank, came and talked to the board about recent banking, issues out there globally and nationally, and Orange Bank's position on those matters. Audit Finance Committee convened, motion by Peg Zogby, seconded by Tim Riley, all in. The committee, following discussion, approved a recommendation to adopt the 2022 audit report, motion by Tim Riley, seconded by Raj Moore, all in favor. Committee adjourned, general meeting resumed. Board considered an action item to adopt the 2022 audit as recommended by the Audit and Finance Committee, motion by Peg Zugby, seconded by Raj Moore, all in favor. Board considered an authorizing resolution for Aptar Group. Motion, there was no further discussion. Motion by Raj Moore, seconded by Tim Riley, all in favor. The board authorized the executive director to take an ad out for $1,250 in the upcoming New York State Economic Development Conference Journal of their annual meeting in May. Board went into executive session to discuss legal matters and personnel. Is it personnel matters? Was that what we said?
Yes, employment
matters. Board came out of executive session and made a motion, Tim Riley, seconded by Peg Zugby, to create a full-time position titled Manager of Operations. All in favor. Board reviewed financial services. Tim Riley recommended that we negotiate our existing funds to determine, how we want to invest it. He reviewed the financial report. All in favor to adopt, to accept the financial report. That's it.
Great job. Those minutes.
Wow.
Okay. Any other business that anyone would like to bring up? Hearing none, motion to adjourn. Okay. Motion by Peggy, seconded by Tim.
And you want to say at the end of every meeting in tradition?
Tradition, smoke 'em if you got 'em.
Oh, yeah.
Smoke 'em if you got 'em.